Every now and then, a new character reveal is more than just a marketing beat. It is an entire event. And in Wuthering Waves, Phrolova is one of those characters. She is a unit whose official announcement was completely overshadowed by one of the messiest, most dramatic leaks we have seen in a while. She is a demon queen whose playable debut has the entire community debating what it means to forgive a villain, or if she is even a villain at all. And she is a gameplay solution so precise, she might finally solve the problem of another character that has been gathering dust on the bench for months. This isn't just a new unit, this is a perfect storm of community drama, deep-seated lore, and meta-defining potential all converging on a single banner. Let's get into it. But before we get into it, if you guys want to top up on Loonites, but oh my god, it is so expensive. Well, lucky for you, I have a sponsor that could help with this exact issue. Thank you for ldshop.gg for sponsoring this video, where you can get Loonites or other in-game purchases at a discount starting with 15% off. That is pretty good, and it's pretty simple, you guys. All you have to do is enter your UID and server, and then you go confirm the order, and then you proceed to checkout, right? And as you can see, my order got completed, and immediately you see like I have Loonites ready to use, and I can pull for the character or weapon that I want. The shop itself is very safe and reliable. On top of that, they have a discount for new users, and you can use my link down below in the description to get an exclusive coupon, and with this coupon it brings you up to 25% off to save you a lot more, and you can even spend $80 to gain VIP status. With a VIP status, you can claim a free Loonite subscription and a bunch of weekly and monthly coupons. Check out the link in the description or pinned comment down below to save with LD Shop. Let's continue with the video. Right on schedule, Kuro Games has officially revealed the next character coming to the limited banner, and as many had predicted, it is Phrolova. They did this through what the community calls drip marketing. If you're not familiar with it, it is essentially a standard practice in the gacha industry. A few weeks after a new patch drops, the company releases a single high-quality image or a short video of the next patch's character. It is a calculated, slow release of information designed to build hype and get people talking. You could also call it the corporate sanitized way of letting us know who we should be saving our Astrites for. It is clean, it is effective, and it has become completely predictable. But as clean as this official reveal was, the real reveal happened months ago, and it was anything but clean. Because this wasn't your typical grainy screen recording with a massive watermark plastered across the middle. This wasn't some sophisticated data mine. No, this was a guy, an employee who decided to record Phrolova's gameplay footage by pointing his phone at his monitor, like a literal phone recording of a screen, which he then shared with his friend group. And you could probably guess what happened next. One of those friends leaked it to the entire internet. It is a gentle reminder that the only person you can really trust not to leak highly confidential career-ending material is, hopefully, yourself. Of course, once the footage was out there, Kuro Games took notice, and the consequences were exactly what you would expect. Justice was served swiftly. The employee was fired, required to pay a substantial fine, and is reportedly facing potential jail time. For a gaming company, they don't play. And honestly, this harsh response shouldn't surprise anyone who has followed Kuro's history. This is a company known for pursuing legal action against leakers with significant determination. Naturally, once the news of the punishment went public, the community itself split into a few camps. You had one group that firmly stood with Kuro Games, arguing that a breach of an NDA is a serious offense and the consequences, while severe, were justified to protect the company's assets. But on the other side, you had players who, while not condoning the leak, felt like potential jail time for sharing a video game clip was a wildly disproportionate response, regardless of the contract. So while the leak gave the community an early and very raw look at Phrolova's attack animations, its fallout created this entirely separate debate about corporate justice, community ethics, and kicked off the much larger conversation that the official drip marketing is only now catching up to. And that conversation is really about one central question. Because she isn't just some morally gray side character who worked against you, she was the demon queen, the primary antagonist of a major story arc. We fought her. And let's be fair to the other side of this debate, the fear of a cheap redemption arc doesn't come from nowhere. We have all seen this trope in countless other stories where a truly compelling antagonist is neutered by a last-minute sob story to make them palatable. The talk no jutsu to make the enemy an ally. The concern is that Phrolova's edge, her ruthlessness, will be sanded down for the sake of sales, ultimately dumbing down the narrative and removing any real stakes of moral complexity from the world. But I'm not entirely convinced that's the direction they're heading. In my opinion, nobody in Wuthering Waves is really presented as purely good or evil. The more popular theory, and one that I lean towards, is that Phrolova operates on a very strict ends justify the means philosophy. Think of it like Thanos. He genuinely believed that he was saving the universe, but his solution was monstrous. When you look at Phrolova's actions villains with this lens, the pattern is there. She is less of a traditional villain and more of a conductor, someone who sees existing stagnant problems and introduces the necessary chaos to force a resolution. And that is a far more interesting character to play than a simple villain who suddenly decides to be a hero. So that is the story side of things. But beyond the lore, there is a much more practical question that her arrival raises, one that has to do with gameplay mechanics and a character that has been sitting on the bench for a very long time. And that is the Cantarella problem. Ever since her release, Cantarella has felt like a character without a home. Her kit is very specific. Her outro skill gives a big boost to both havoc damage and skill damage. The obvious partner was Tanchin. But the thing about Tanchin is, Tanchin mains like to solo. The character is a self-sufficient parry machine who heals herself, and adding a support often feels like a hindrance than a help. So Cantarella has just been waiting for a character who actually wants what she has to offer. And now, all signs are pointing to Phrolova being that answer. It is confirmed that she will be a havoc attribute and speculated to be a resident skill-focused damage dealer. If that holds true, she is not just a good partner for Cantarella, she is the perfect partner, the missing piece of the puzzle. You can even take it a step further, with theories of a full trio of Phrolova, Cantarella, and even Rachia, finally making the long-neglected Midnight Veil Sonata set not just viable, but potentially optimal. This excitement for a perfect pairing also shines a light on Kuro's broader design philosophy. This isn't the first time we've seen this pattern of highly specialized locked and key synergy. Think back to the intense connection between Zani and Phoebe, where one character's kit feels tailor-made to enable the other's entire damage window. It is a reoccurring design choice to create supports whose value is almost entirely maximized by one, maybe two, specific damage dealers. Now let's be clear here, because this is where the debate always starts. Can you clear the endgame content without putting Phrolova and Cantarella together? Of course you can. Viable quick swap teams exist, and the skilled players can make a wide variety of teams work. The argument isn't about absolute necessity to clear content. The argument is about the magnitude of the incentive. When a specialist support like Cantarella exists, and a character like Phrolova is released who can leverage her entire kit perfectly, the performance gap between that intended team and other variations is often substantial. It is not a marginal 5% difference. It can be a night and day change in both damage output and the rotational feel of the team. It creates a system where if you don't technically need the pair, the game's design is heavily signaling that a character's true potential, their intended ceiling, is intentionally locked behind their synergistic partner. My personal preference leans towards the more flexible design, but there is no denying the satisfaction players will get from finally completing this puzzle for Cantarella. It is a welcome change, even if it highlights a design trend that warrants discussion. So this all leads to the big question, especially for those of us who are low spenders or free-to-play. Given that Lupa's banner is coming up next, what is the right call? Do you pull now, or do you save everything for Phrolova? Let's break down the value. With Phrolova, we are looking at what is expected to be a top-tier havoc DPS. The fact that she is a rectifier also means that she will have more range, likely making her easier and safer to play than many of the current melee carries. She has a clear versatility with other havoc units, and as we have discussed, she single-handedly elevates another character. But this isn't a simple decision, because Lupa's value is also incredibly high, just in a different way. She isn't just a damage dealer, she is a unique hybrid of a sub-DPS and a powerful support. Her ability to amplify fusion damage while also contributing significantly herself gives her tremendous long-term value for an account, especially if you're building a mono fusion team. Ultimately, the deciding factor really just comes down to your account. It is less about which character is better in a vacuum and more about which one makes the most sense to you right now. The logic is pretty straightforward. If you already have Cantarella sitting on the sidelines, Phrolova becomes almost a must-pull. She is the key to unlocking a character you have already invested in. But if you already built strong fusion characters like Brandt or Changli, then Lupa is the clear choice to complete that team and maximize its potential. It is a choice between activating a dormant character or completing an existing powerful team composition. So with Phrolova, what we are left with is a character born from a messy dramatic leak who then sparked a genuine debate about morality and storytelling, all while potentially fixing a long-standing gameplay problem. It really is the perfect storm of drama, lore, and meta all converging on a single character. And it is a good example of how even though Kuro games might be getting better and more professional with their marketing, it is the community's reaction and the stories behind the characters that are always more interesting to watch unfold. But that is my take. I am curious to how you all think. What is your take on all of this? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But that is all from me, Glaivekiyo, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers!